Hello everybody, my name is Michael, and in today's video what we're going to be doing is this right here. So if that looks exciting to you guys, please carry on and watch the video. Oh, and just one more thing before we go. Please consider like, commenting, and subscribing if you enjoyed the video. But now with all that out of the way, let's carry on with the video. Okay, so once you have any ground texture you want on there and you've primed her up, I've just given it a quick zenithal prime. What we're going to be doing is starting off with painting the skin, and we're going to use dark pale blue for this. And because we have that nice zenithal prime on there, we've got a little bit of variation in colour to paint on our miniature, since we're using nice thin coats of paint. So just a matter of going through those areas where we want to have that skin showing, of course, with that nice pale blue. Don't be freaked out about it because we're using some blue colours here for the skin. Hopefully it'll come out looking nice when we've got all those layers on there and really come out looking like a frosted giant. Then once we have that base colour down, what we're going to do now is come in with some ivory. And we're going to be using this, of course, to be painting in her eyes. And ivory is a good, nice off-white colour, because we don't want a pure white for the eyes. We don't want them to stand out like they're big, glowing, evil eyes in the distance. We want that slight off-white colour. Coming in with a fine, thin-tip brush and really coming in to pick those out. And then we're doing this now because we want to save some trouble later on down the line where there would have completely the entire lot of the skin done. And also while I'm painting up those eyes, I'm also going to be doing the ends of the arrows. We've got our feathers as well, so don't be afraid to do that too. Then once we have those few white bits picked out, we're going to come in now with some matte black, and this of course is going to be do the pupils of the eyes, which is always a nice tricky job, I find. So switching to my thinnest, pointiest brush I've got and really trying to be careful about dotting in those eyes. And don't worry if it takes you a few times, it always takes me a couple of times to get them right. Then once you're happy with those eyes, we're going to come in now with some pale blue. I'm going to be using this to highlight our skin. So we've gotten all those nice, hard, tricky bits of details, including her hair that we also used the ivory. I don't know if I mentioned that before, but when I was painting the ivory, I was also painting her hair. And it's just a matter of coming in now and picking out those highest point areas like the tip of the nose, the lips, since they're nice and prominently sculpted here. We want to be picking out those as well, the eyebrows, and the tops of muscles that would naturally be hitting the light so we can have that really good bright highlight effect. Then once we have those highlights completed, what we're going to be doing now is we're going to come in with a wash. I'm going to use Drakenof Nightshade for this, which is a blue wash, a reasonably dark bluish wash. And this is going to help really add the effect to the nice frosted blue skin of our frost giant here. So it's just a matter of coming over, and you can see I'm layering it on quite thick, but this is to get a really good overall coverage. And then I'll be coming in with a empty brush with nothing on it, and just coming in and wicking up those areas that'll start pooling to really get a good overall coverage of the wash. Really make sure we get it everywhere, we're not missing out spots. Then once we've got our wash completely dry, we're going to come in now with some monster brown, and this is going to be for our starting color of our brown. So I'm going to be using a lot of browns, especially a lot of earthy tones for this miniature, since she is a ranger out there hunting in the wild, because it is a frost giant ranger, so she really lives off the land, and I want to convey that with a lot of muted and desaturated colors, sort of stuff that you would naturally find to make her clothing. And starting off with monster brown, so I'm going to be using a lot of different types of browns, but you don't have to go as far as me with all the different tones and colors of our browns. You could really just use a couple here, but I want to keep it nice and interesting. And as you can see, I'm already moving on to a different type of brown. I'll be using burnt umber for that, and it's going to really hopefully sell the effect that she hunts a lot and gets a lot of different types of materials from everything she gathers to find to make her clothing and her way of life hard out in the frozen wasteland. And now what I'm going to do here is immediately take back one of my painting parts I've just done with our monster brown, and I'm coming in with basalt grey to do that. And that is just her sort of overcoat slash jacket she has on here. I'm switching that out with a nice basalt grey to really help just differentiate the colours a little bit more. And then I want to add in a few more darker colours, and I don't want too many browns. I want browns, but I don't want to have the entire thing brown. So switching in a few other colours here like greys and dark greens and stuff like that is going to really help out the situation. And then with that said, we're going to move back on with another brown. This is going to be rigid leather, which is a reddish brown. So another variation of our tones here. And this is, of course, just going to sit in these little areas around here, around her sort of like a belt slash skirt she's got around here. Really trying to get into those recesses. That's the part I mainly am aiming for. and a few other little pieces around to help variate the colours, of the browns that we have on her. Then once we have that complete, we're going to come in with khaki, and we're going to be using this for the wraps around her gloves that she's wearing. So khaki, a nice another colour to show, and then it's very earth-like and natural. It's going to really help sell the effect because, like I said, we're going for that naturalistic earth forager sort of attire get up with her that she naturally finds all this stuff, and she's made all her armor and that herself, so using these colors is going to really help out with that. And then with that, we're going to come in now with some charred brown, a nice deep dark brown like our burnt umber we had before. I'm going to be using this for just a couple of small little areas. So she's wearing these nice shields and sort of other parts of armor that she collected off, obviously other things she's hunted, including bandits she may have come across, or just other adventurers coming out to hunt her. So adding in those nice dark colors there to that as well, really going to help, given those different colors of punch. But remember, you don't have to go as crazy as me and use so many different types of browns. You could limit it to maybe 2 or 3. And with those areas picked out, we're going to come in now with some cavalry brown, which is a very, very vibrant sort of red brown, a lot more than our rigid leather we had before. And this is going to be for that nice show piece, like pouch she sort of has on the front of her skirt slash armor in the front there. Really help differentiate it out. And because we've got so many different browns on here, it can really stand out. Like you can see here, it nearly seems almost entirely red rather than a brownish red with all the different types of browns we've got on here. So a nice eye-catching piece that we can have on there as well. And then with that nice pouch picked out, we're going to come in now with some contrast paint, and we're going to be using gore grunta fur for this. And this is going to be for the nice deer she has sort of strapped to her back, which is just made like a fresh kill, essentially. And we want to have that covering all the fur of the deer. I'm not going to go too crazy with the detail on this deer here. It's a nice accessory to have to her, so I'm going to be painting it sort of as such rather than going full hard out like I would if I was to paint a deer miniature itself. So nice contrast paint's going to help with that, especially with our zenithal prime. It's really going to help punch that miniature with the depths of and variations of the color we're going to have on that. And while we're also on that, we're going to come in with some wyldwood, which is going to be used to the same effect, except for this time we're going to be using it on our deer's antlers here. I want to give it some nice dark, deep antlers, nearly more moose-like, I guess, in color tone than actual ordinary deer. But totally up to you how you want to complete this deer. I want it nice and simple, and contrast paints are really going to help get me that nice simple look, especially with that zenithal prime. Really give it nice and efficiently. Then once we have that deer painted up, we're going to come in now with some more contrast paint. This time it's going to be orc flesh. I'm going to be using this for just the little, what do you call it, sleeping bag she sort of has on her there. And I thought I'd go with a nice darkish green tone for that to really give a little bit of eye-catching color to the piece when you're turning it around. And as you can see, I also went with the cavalry brown here on the back of her quiver as well, just to add in some more colors around the place. Okay, so once we have that sleeping bag all painted up, I'm going to come in now with some deck tan. I'm going to be using the deck tan to be painting up that nice bit of fur cloak she has here. So it's got a nice big hunk of fur on top of her, sort of wearing it like a mantle, and then it goes down into a cloak slash cape. And I'm going to be concentrating all the fur part with the deck tan color. Then once we have all that fur nice and picked out, I'm going to come in with another brown, our mahogany brown here. This time I'm going to be using it just for the handle here on this nice short sword slash dagger she has on her, just the end here of the handle. Now we've got that handle painted up, we're going to come in now with some hemp rope. And this, as the name suggests, is what we're going to be using for any rope we find around the miniature. So the main part of the rope that we have here is the rope that's tied the deer onto her back. So don't be afraid to really get in there and use a couple of layers. Since our hemp rope is thinnish yellow paint, it's going to take a couple of layers to work it up to really get that color to show through. Then once we have that painted up, we're going to be using just a little bit of matte black here, and this is just going to be used for the scabbard of her short sword slash dagger slash blade she has just on her belly there, and we're just going to be painting that in a nice black, and it's going to really help give a little eye-catching color to the center of that miniature. Then once we have that little piece picked out, we're going to come in now with some metal, and we're going to start off with some gun metal here, and we're going to be using this where you would likely think all our metal's going to be. So we want to be using it for sort of the clasp that's holding her, the scabbard of her blade here, the tip of her spear, places like that. But we're going to be leaving out her jewelry. We're going to be doing that in a different color, so don't be afraid to just leave those little bits there to add in a bit of color. But again, it's totally up to you. If you want to make all of them silver as well, go right ahead, but I'm just going to be using it on the areas that would naturally be like these little pins and buttons all over her as well. Then once we have all those metallic areas picked out with our gunmetal, we're going to come in now with some brassy brass. And this is what I'm going to be using the color for our jewelry to be. It's going to help give us a little bit of awesome interest on the piece as well, since we've got quite a lot of silver and natural colors on here. So having this brass is going to really help pop out those certain areas of jewelry and prominence that we can see here to really give a little bit of eye-catching metallic color to the piece too. Then once we've picked out those areas of brass, we're going to come in now with some stonewall grey. I'm going to be using the stonewall grey to be painting up the majority of her cloak. So everywhere we don't have that nice big fur part of the cloak, we want to be painting up in stonewall grey. And there is quite a lot of it, so don't be afraid to use a few coats here because there's a lot of big flat areas, as well as the little nooks and crannies. Just watch out for those in the nice sculpted areas of that flowing cloak. Then once we have that main colour of our cloak painted up, we're going to come in with some washes now. I'm going to come in with Agrax Earthshade first up. And this is going to be used over a lot of the miniature. And when I mean a lot, I mean 90% of the miniature that is not metallic. Pretty much we want to be giving ever a nice liberal coat of the wash that isn't a metallic area. We want to be avoiding those metallics. We're going to be using a different wash for that. So don't be afraid to go heavy here, but keep an eye on the pooling. That is going to be the biggest problem with this. There's a lot of nooks and crannies where that wash can really easily set, so give it a close eye while it's drying. And then once our brown wash is completely dried, I'm going to come in now with some ivory, and I'm going to be using this to be picking out her nice necklace made of teeth and bone that she has around here. I didn't do this before because I wanted that wash to be nice and complete and done, because I didn't want to give this a brown wash. I want to have it stand out a little bit more from that, and I didn't want the brown wash to sort of make it all match in. So that's why I'm coming in and picking it out now with our ivory color. Then with that nice bone necklace picked out, we're going to come in now with some more wash, and this is going to be seraphim sepia. And this is going to be used on a few other places of our miniatures. We're going to be using it over our fur that she has around her cloak, over the ends of the arrows here, over the wraps around her hand that we did in that khaki color. We want to be using it in those sort of areas. A lot of areas we didn't apply the brown wash to, but still avoiding the metallics. We don't want to be giving a wash over the metallics yet. And then what we're going to be doing is using our last wash, and that is going to be using nuln oil. And this is where we're going to be using our nuln oil to just be adding in a little bit of different color in our washes that I'm applying here. So you can see I'm placing it on her hair, and that is just to give it a simple different wash and shadow color to the rest of the miniature. If I had it done it brown, it's going to make her hair look a little bit different and stand out just a little bit from the rest of what she's got there. As well as that, I'm also going to be applying the wash to a lot of our metallic areas. So this is what we're mostly saving the last wash for, is to go over a lot of those metallics. So don't be afraid to give it a nice overall coverage, and watch out about getting it anywhere you don't want it to be. Then once our black wash is completely dry, what we're going to be doing now is coming back in with some ivory, and this is where I'm going to be just doing in those highlights, like I said. And of course this is mainly going to be for her hair, because we want her hair to be white. I don't want it to be a muddy blackish tinted color. We're just using that for the nice shadow colors, and I want that to make it look like it's an actual shadow. That's why we went with the black rather than any brown color. It's just a matter of going in, using the side of your brush to catch those edges and really make those highlights stick out on the piece. Then once we have those highlights of the hair picked out, I'm going to come back in with some stonewall grey, and that is to just be doing our last highlight of the miniature of our cloak that we've got here. Since we've got that nice brown wash all over the place, somewhere it's pulled up a little bit too much, and we also want that nice clean stonewall grey for the high points of our miniature where that highlight is naturally coming in, to really emphasize that there's a lot of striking sun coming in and really shining off the nice high points of our miniature. So just a matter of going around and really sitting into those areas where we want those highlights to be. with all that complete, we have finally finished painting up our female Frost Giant Ranger from the Reaper Miniatures range. So I hope this video has been helpful for you guys, whether you want to follow along and did what I did here, or you just want to use my videos for some inspiration in painting up your own miniatures. But with all that said guys, I'd like to thank you all for watching, and I can't wait to see you all in the next video.